Hello everyone, I'm Katie Rybakova. I will be your teacher for multicultural literature. The course code is LAE 4694. I'm currently in my office talking to an inanimate object, trying to make this online course, a little bit more friendly. So you'll hear from me in weekly videos, and when you don't, we'll chat on the phone and I'll talk about that in length in a little bit. So basically who I am, like I said, I'm Katie. My full name is actually Yekaterina Rybakova if you want to do it the Russian way. I went to Florida State as an athlete. There I am. As an undergrad, I got my master's here, and I am currently getting my PhD here, all in English education. So I've been really looking into the theory and the research in education, and I'm really excited about this multicultural literature course. I taught an RED course last semester. For those of you who are already in English Ed, you've already taken that course, so it was a content literacy course. And for those of you who are new to me in English Ed, I'm also your advisor, so yay! And the multicultural literature course that we're going to be going into is basically a way of combining literature that's written by authors outside of our own kind of dominant culture, and be able to talk about those as teachers with our teacher hats on. So that's really what this course is going to be about. I wrote some notes here. So basically what I want you to leave this class with is being able to teach multicultural literature, so what kind of sources you can use. I want you to be able to learn about your students and about your demographics that you might be in, and I will also want you to learn a lot about yourself as a teacher. So we'll be looking into all of those in different assignments. So one of your biggest assignments is a discussion post. I know that online classes can be a little bit scary just because you don't see the teacher, but the fun part is, for example, in this what I call lecture, which is me holding a flip camera up and talking to it alone in my office, is that you can pause, go to the bathroom, come back, pause, grab a snack, eat and watch me in your pajamas and think about what I have to say in terms of the multicultural literature subject and the content and literature that we'll be discussing in this class. So it'll be exciting. So let's go over the syllabus. I have it up here on the computer. I also have a bunch of sticky notes. I'm one of those kind of messy workers. So the course objectives are to demonstrate an understanding of the many cultures represented in literature through discussion and explanation of multiple novels and literary works. We're going to be focused more on short stories and poetry, just because I think that it's a 6-week course. I understand you have other courses that you have to focus on. This is the book that we're reading. Sorry about the little glare there. It's called A Multicultural Reader. It's collection 2, and you will have certain readings. We won't read the whole thing, so don't worry, but we are going to take little snippets out of it and chat about those. You will also analyze divergent perspectives and forming opinions about literary and cultural productions. Really, that's a really fancy way of saying that you're going to take a critical lens and really explain these stories that I'm going to be assigning to you. Predict the ways in which multicultural literature may be used thematically within the 6 to 12 classroom. This is our focus in this classroom. I think this is really important. We're going to talk about why multicultural literature is important, and also how you can use it. what kind of conversations you can have, what kind of tools you can use, and that kind of goes to the fourth point here, which is using technology to create resources for teaching multicultural literature. So like I said, the Perfection Learning Many Voices and Multicultural Reader Collection 2 is what you need for this course. You need access to Skype. That's just if you want to Skype with me. My office hours are a little complicated this summer. Just because I'll be working and taking classes and teaching all at the same time. So my office is in 2208 L Stone Building, and it's all blurry on the screen there. I will be available by Skype often. Now, I will have certain days and times where I will be in my office. So if you'd rather sit down with me and talk about things, we can do that as well. I will breeze through some of these sections. I expect you to read them. Of course, you read through it already, but I wanted to specify the Netiquette statement just because we are an online course and we are going to be talking about things that may be a little bit uncomfortable. We're going to be talking about race and culture and language, and all of those require kind of an open mind. And you have to make sure that you're very, very careful of how you post, and make sure you're respectful of others when you do post, because you will be talking to each other through discussion board. The grading evaluation, you can note that the weekly question postings and the weekly discussions are the most substantial grade you'll get in this class. So they're 250 points. The critical reading logs, which you'll do every week except for the last week, that one will be the critical lens, and I'll explain all of these a little bit more in depth in a second. The midterm oral defense, I know that sounds super scary, but really it's just a kind of a telephone interview with me, just to check in. And it's also important that you learn how to talk on the phone, because teachers talk on the phone often, and you have to be able to not only feel comfortable talking on the phone, but stay professional and clear, speak with clarity, and articulate your thoughts really well on the phone. So that's kind of what we're going to look for in the oral defense. And then the final blog submission I'll talk about a little bit more in depth. That's due the week of June 16th, which is our last week. So this week and this course will go by really fast. You'll notice that in 3 weeks it's already midterm. So keep in mind that I want you to view this course more as a survey course than a really in-depth course that we would be looking into if we were doing this over the course of the semester. Now, that being said, the weekly questions are supposed to basically be the equivalent of the amount of hours that is if you were to actually show up to class. So they are going to have research questions, so you're going to be able to investigate certain phenomena. You'll be able to look things up, watch videos, watch these lectures, read the novels. So the weekly questions, while they're due on Friday at 5, they're due every Friday at 5, except for that oral defense week, which is 3 weeks into this 6-week course. Those are a substantial amount of work. You'll spend quite a bit of time kind of getting everything through. Now, what I want to specify is that you want to make sure you read, watch, and listen to everything that you need to before you go into these discussion questions, because I expect you to already know the things that we go over when you're responding. So one of the criteria on the rubrics, so if you watch the screencast, I'll go over the rubrics a little bit more in depth. You'll notice that on the weekly questions, you'll have you have to add 2 quotes, one out of the readings and one out of the video, just so that I can see that you're connecting the questions to what we're reading and what we're watching in the class. You also have to respond twice in a 50-word response in the weekly discussion. these weekly questions are also your absence. So if you miss them, you'll be counted absent. That's how I take attendance. So make sure that you're posting on time. Actually, on the syllabus it says noon. It's actually at 5, so I'm actually going to type that in and update it on the Blackboard site. So these are 50 points, and the way that you respond, obviously you want to make sure that you're responding to the questions that your peers ask. So one of the things that you'll do on the weekly post is ask a question to your peers, and those responses can be in response to that question. They can be in response to what the post was about. It can be in response to the icebreaker, but that won't count as the 50-word response, just like the icebreaker won't count for the minimum of 500 words. So the icebreaker is that first question that you'll see on every weekly discussion, and it's more of like kind of a getting to know you thing, just since we are in an online class. I know some of you already know each other, but it'll be good to kind of break the ice, if you will. So critical reading logs are another big assignment. They're 30 points each. You'll do them every week. And what you'll do is you'll take one of the assigned readings that you completed that week and analyze that reading using a critical lens. And one of the readings for the first week is kind of a brief overview of what those critical lenses are. So things like feminism and critical race theory. You should choose a different critical lens every reading log. I can see how it could be very easy to choose, the reader response, which is basically your personal opinion of the piece every single week. So I want you to experiment. I want you to go out of your comfort zone, and I want you to experiment with different critical lenses each week. So you'll do this 5 times. The last week of class you will not do it. So you will begin the first week, go all the way through the 5th week, and then you won't have one due that last week. Each reading log must be at least 1 page single-spaced. It's okay if it's more. I try to keep the writing pretty concise, but I don't mind if you go over. I will read it anyways. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to be a stickler about that, but I do want you to get to at least 1 page minimum. And then the midterm oral defense. So it sounds super scary, like I said, but really it's just a phone interview with me. It counts for 150 points. So you already have in Blackboard the list of questions. So you can go in and you can practice. I suggest you do so. You can go in and practice some of them. So the majority of those questions are dealing with what we're talking about in the class, right? I'm checking how you're understanding. It's a formative assessment for me. I'm checking how you're understanding what we're reading about and the things that we're talking about. And the other 2 questions, so those would be 4 questions that I'll ask. The other 2 questions out of the total of 6 questions that I'll ask are practice interview questions. So things that your future bosses will ask you when you go and go in for your interview when you're looking for a job. So we'll talk about that more the 3rd week of class. Then the final blog submission, like I said, this course is 6 weeks long. So it is a good idea to look at the rubric and kind of start thinking about what you'd want to cover. So what you will do is you will begin collecting resources to submit a final blog for publication. So obviously if you're accepted, that won't affect your grade. But I want you to be able to share your thoughts and incorporate research and the ideas of multicultural literature with a larger audience, not just me, not just your peers, with other pre-service teachers, with other practicing teachers. And the blog must be at least 2 single-spaced pages long. Now that sounds like it's pretty short, but it will require some research and at least 5 sources. People who've already had me know that I'm pretty strict on the APA citations. Obviously, you're not going to fail if you do it wrong, but I suggest you try your best on doing them correctly, just because you will have to use that in your future practice. Not only that, but you'll be teaching APA citations to other people, and you'll need to really know how to do that. So, just so you know, since these are all English ed folks that I'm talking to, you do have to get a C+ or above to officially pass this course and have it counted for English ed, so that's just kind of a reminder for everyone. Know that the syllabus can change. I'm not really planning on changing it. We might have to change the agenda up a little bit, but I will let you know if we do. The agenda is pretty straightforward. It lists the week, then it lists the readings and videos. Now, what you'll do, and in the screencast, you'll see this. You will look up in the course library the list of things that you have to do. It'll list what you have to read in the Multicultural Reader, which is the textbook, which is MCR. It'll list the pages that you go to, and then you'll have additional readings. Now, I just write additional readings, if any. Some weeks you won't have any. Some weeks there'll be videos, not readings, but videos. Some weeks you will have some extra readings on top of the textbook. So, as you can see, do this week. Hopefully you've already done this, which was a welcome email with the secret code out of the syllabus. And then you have everything that you need to hand into me electronically and work on. So, as much as I am not a huge fan of Blackboard, we are going to be using Blackboard. This is partially because you are going to have places where the technology is not awesome, and you have to kind of work around it. So we are going to be using the discussion board on Blackboard, and everything in this course is going to be driven by Blackboard, other than the final blog, which again I'll talk about a little bit more once we get closer to the date. So that's pretty much it. There's nothing really else. I mean, read through this, and if you have any questions, let me know. It's pretty straightforward, but otherwise, go ahead, and if you haven't looked at the screencast on Blackboard, it'll be a good way of kind of introducing yourself to Blackboard and to the course. Now, I know most of you are familiar with Blackboard, but I'll kind of list where everything is and where you can find stuff so you don't overlook anything that you need to do for the week. So make sure that you write that. Now, the discussion board, I am going to kind of go over this for the first time, so I'm pulling up discussion board 1, week 1 on my computer right now, and it has this long thing for me, long rant about what you need to do to get all of the credit and things like that. So make sure you're writing at least 500 words. I'm pretty sure you will go over 500 words, but that is the minimum. There is no maximum. You need to include at least 2 quotes, one from any of the various readings and one from one of the videos. This is the case for every discussion post. This is how I grade your posts as well. Like I've mentioned before, the first question is always an icebreaker. We want to get to know each other even though we're not meeting in person, hence me on the video camera. And I will answer my own questions each week so that you can get to know me too. Now, don't forget to respond to at least 2 people. Like I said, they have to be 50 words each. Now, you will get extra credit for including sources, cited APA style, of course, in your response. So, say, for example, your peer asks you what you think of using the African American dialect in the classroom, being okay with students speaking that way, or how we would teach standard English, which is one of the things that we'll cover in this course. They ask a question about that, and then you respond with an article that cites that dilemma in an article. You'll get extra credit for that. So that kind of explains that. So the discussion posts are set up pretty much self-explanatory. The first question is that icebreaker. I'll ask you to investigate certain things, like, for example, the first week's investigate is to find at least 2 statistics from reliable sources that exemplify U.S. diversity. I'm okay. Some of these are intentionally open-ended, so don't worry if you've taken, you're looking at other people's and you realize, oh wow, I didn't really respond to that question in the same way. That's on purpose. I don't want to read the same answer over and over and over again. So I want that diversity. That's why a lot of these are open-ended and intentionally a little bit vague, so that you can take what you mean out of the question and answer it and kind of really reflect and analyze what you're thinking about multicultural literature. A lot of these discussion questions are going to be teacher focused, so putting on your teacher hat and thinking about how you would teach the readings that I assigned. So, and a little bit of clarity on this last question. It says, it's your turn to be teacher. Post a question that you would ask about the videos, the readings, or the family conflict topic in general to your peers. Pretend you are teaching a college class of pre-service teachers and gear your questions towards that audience. So basically, you are pretending you're me, and what you would ask yourself or your other peers or your students, if you were teaching a college class with this syllabus, what you would ask, or if you taught those readings, what you would ask, or if you taught those videos, what you would ask. Again, it's very open, and make people think, right? That's the point of school, is making people think. So I've droned on for 21 minutes, so I will go ahead and be quiet now. This is the end of the lecture, so it was nice meeting you over the camera, the flip camera, and you will hear me again soon.